Okay, welcome back to members of 121 Community Church in Grapevine, Texas, and our ongoing study in Paul and the Faithfulness of God by N.T. Wright, published by Fortress Press. We've had a great lesson on the rise of the imperial cult, but we really need to do the recall triad because it'll help us to organize and recapitulate this lesson, a great lesson by N.T. Wright. Let's take a look at block one first. We're going to be looking at the emerging imperial cult and the Jewish resistance. Now, block one, Rome's rhetoric of an Augustan dynasty. The reign of Augustus was proclaimed through every province and also commemorated in iconic statues and buildings. The Forum in Rome became iconographic for Rome's entire history. It was posited that Augustus had ushered in a new age, and the literature of the age portrayed Augustus as Jupiter's viceroy on Earth. The emperor was the substitute for Jupiter on Earth. Now, if you take a look at block two, the first century concrete reign of both Nero and Vespasian were considered. Octavian Augustus had also self-appointed himself as Pontifex Maximus, or high priest, and this practice continued with emperors always on the verge of considering themselves gods on earth. Vespasian sent his son Titus to put down the rebellion in Judea in AD 70, which resulted in the destruction of the temple. Josephus even perceived Vespasian as the messianic king to rise up out of Judea. Boy, did he get that one wrong, but he perceived Vespasian as the promised messianic king. Then if we look at block three, the ideal Augustan dynasty and the concrete Vespasian dynasty both led to the imperial cult, where the emperor was considered the viceroy of Jupiter on earth. The emperor does on earth what Jupiter does in heaven. The emperor also assumed leadership over the collegia of priests. Jewish leadership protested this oppression and protested this defilement by reaffirming the prophecies of Daniel and the prophecies of 4 Ezra, that the promised Son of Man would appear and overthrow Rome. So Jewish leadership turned to apocalyptic prophecies. They clung to apocalyptic hope under the elongated exile of being oppressed by Rome in their own country. But we can see, and N.T. Wright has shown us very vividly, how the imperial cult evolved and how there was a real mixture of the political and the religious in Rome. There was a very strong mixture of the political and the religious. They were interrelated, and the emperor even claimed the role of a high priest for the governing body of the collegia of the priesthood. So it was definitely a corrupt and distorted view that Paul would confront in Rome, where politics and religion were mixed very much, and how it all was thriving on arrogance and pride and military strength. And Paul was coming into that worldview and that worldview environment with a threatening gospel of Christ as true Lord. So great teaching from Professor Wright. And we've got a really great recap triad here now where we can see the ideal of Augustan dynasty and the concrete Vespasian dynasty, how they both fed into this ongoing tendency of emperors to claim deity for themselves. That's going to wrap up a great lesson on the emerging imperial cult. We're going to pick up next time on page 302.